Hello friends, and welcome back to ᴍᴘᴇᴱ, a cozy space to talk about books. Today, this video is going to be all about Agatha Christie. She is quickly becoming and has become one of my all-time favourite authors, and I have been adoring her books so very much that I've decided to do somewhat of a 24-hour-esque style readathon where I just solely dive into Agatha Christie and the different novels and mysteries that she has. So grab yourself your most warming hot drink, a cozy blanket, and let's get into it. But first, let's discuss kind of where I'm at reading-wise with her works. Now, obviously, I know there is a ton of novels in which she has produced, written, and published. I started off with the Miss Marple books. So I actually started off with Murder at the Vicarage, and I adore Miss Marple so much. Like, genuinely love Miss Marple. So in terms of the books I've read from Miss Marple, I've read Murder at the Vicarage, also The Body in the Library, and then I jumped to the fourth book, in which is Sleeping Murder, because my bookshop, my local independent bookshop, didn't have the third book. Then I found this edition in a secondhand bookshop of ᴍᴘᴱ Rye, so I read this one and loved it again. And then I moved on to, which I actually filmed a video for, And Then There Were None, because this is a kind of interactive solve it yourself murder mystery, in which I found really interesting, and you can see me trying to solve that in a vlog up above. And then my boyfriend so kindly bought me a few more Agatha Christie books just this past weekend when we were book shopping together at my local independent bookshop, because we found these beautiful cloth bound editions of these books, and my boyfriend's parents own a fox terrier, and so we just had to get this one, and this is Dumb Witness, and I finished this one last night or the night before, and this is my first ever Poirot, and I loved it again. So those are the books that I've read so far, and then in terms of my kind of I have to read and I'm yet to read, should I say, books that I own, I now have The Moving Finger, which is the third book in the Miss Marple series, should we call it? And then I also now have the fifth book, in which is They Do It With Mirrors, because my partner also bought me this one whilst we were book shopping for the others. So yeah, I have these yet to read, and then that will kind of be my Miss Marple ones going on. And then in terms of similar mysteries that do not have a detective in, I first of all have The Man in the Brown Suit, in which I'm yet to read, and then this beautiful edition of The Secret of Chimneys from Notting Hill Bookshop I got when we were in our London when we were away in London. And so yeah, I've yet to read this one as well, and this is, I think, just a general mystery with no detective as kind of like a protagonist. And then in terms of my Poirot books left to read, because you see I now have read Dumb Witness, and I have read And Then There Were None, although Poirot wasn't technically in this one because, like I say, it was a different edition. It was a solve it yourself edition. I have this stack here, in which include A Murder Is Announced. I think this is Poirot one. Now I'm second guessing myself that this is actually oh no, sorry, this is Miss Marple. I just realised that. This is Miss Marple. Anyway, I have to read this one for the Miss Marple anyway, so I'm going to add that to my list. And then I've got, I think these are all Poirot, Crooked House, Miss McGinty Is Dead, Perella End House, and then two editions of The Cat Amongst the Pigeons, because this is the other cloth-bound edition that I got, similar to Dumb Witness, that my boyfriend bought me. And obviously, if you don't know, we own loads of kittens, so I thought this was perfect, and I'm very excited to read this one, and then this one. And then I have this bind-up of Agatha Christie's The Best of Poirot. So this has Murder in the Orient Express, Cards on the Table, Hercule Poirot's Christmas, Five Little Pigs, and The Labours of Hercules. So those are all of the books that I'm sort of yet to read, where I'm at with different books. I'll kind of like show you a stack so it makes more sense rather than me having just rambled through it, is what I feel like has just happened. And yeah, so now I'm really excited to read each and every one of these, because it's, yeah, I just, like I say, I've been loving Agatha Christie so far. So yeah, let me show you kind of like an overview of what I've just discussed, and then we can get into the books and saying what I want to read in this video. So here is my priority selection. So like I say, I've got Crooked House, Miss McGinty's Dead, Perilla End House, 2 editions of Cat Amongst the Pigeons, and then the best of bind up here. And then in terms of what I've read from Poirot is Dumb Witness. Then we have the books in which don't have a detective and are just general murder mysteries, in which I haven't yet read. That's The Secret Chimleys and The Man in the Brown Suit. So that's on the TBR. And then we have And Then There Were None, which is technically a Poirot novel, but this is a Solve It Yourself edition, so this didn't actually have any detectives in it. At least I believe it is a Poirot. Please correct me if I'm just completely wrong. And then we have my Miss Marple books. These are the ones in which I have read, so that includes Sleeping Murder. Oh, no, haven't read that. Sleeping Murder, The Body in the Library, Murder at the Vicarage, and Pocket Full of Rye. So those are the ones that I have read. Then the ones I have yet to read from Miss Marple are The Moving Finger, A Murder is Announced, and They Do It with Mirrors. So as you can see from that, a lot of the books I don't necessarily have in order. Although I was reading the Miss Marple books in order, I don't necessarily own like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th book, for example, because I have just been picking these up from family friends, from secondhand bookshops, and when and if my local independent bookshop have it as well. So in terms of the TBR for this video, I'm definitely wanting to get to some Miss Marple books. I think I'm going to try and read both The Moving Finger and They Do It with Mirrors, because then I am then 5 books in, and I will see about A Murder is Announced. I'm not quite sure on that one yet. In terms of the Poirot books, I definitely want to get to Cat Amongst the Pigeons, just because I adore this edition, and because I've read Dumb Witness, I just feel like it fits perfectly. And then I also want to get to The Secret of Chimneys as well. So I think that's a pretty good TBR to have for now. If I do extend this over 24 hours and I want to read more, then I will add that to the TBR. But for now, this is going to be the TBR. So without all of that ramble and that introduction, let's get to reading. I'm making my way through The Moving Finger, and I'm enjoying it so far. It's quite slow paced compared to the other books that I've written by Agatha Christie, and in its way that it's going about the different types of, there haven't been like very many murders yet, and the way it's going about the different types of murders is there is anonymous letters being sent in that kind of like a small knit community, so everyone is a suspect. And I am so far this amount into it, and Miss Marple has only just been introduced, so it really is a lot of build up with our 2 main characters having just moved to this village and coming to terms with them also being recipients of the anonymous letters. We're meeting the people of the village alongside them, so it doesn't feel as though there's kind of this already established kind of setting and characters that you should know, because you're kind of meeting it alongside the protagonists, and which is quite fun. But yeah, it's definitely like a slower version for certain. But yeah, I'm still very much enjoying it, and like I say, it's just a little bit of a shame that Miss Marple's only just been introduced, but hopefully I continue to enjoy it, and hopefully we get more Miss Marple scenes. But I'm intrigued to find out who the murderer is. Guys, I have a little reading update. I am now making my way through They Do It with Mirrors, which means that I finished The Moving Finger last night. I enjoyed that one. I found it quite interesting that Miss Marple wasn't present until the very end, but it made sense logically to not have her in there, because usually obviously what happens is like she kind of like dictates what's going on, or she nudges people in the right direction. And I loved the part that she played in the kind of reveal of everything happening. I thought that was really well done. And yeah, I just really loved the characters and like building a bit of a rapport with the characters, because we see Miss Marple as a constant throughout the rest of these books. Sometimes you don't get to kind of build that relationship with the other characters because you're so focused on Miss Marple, and what's kind of going on with her. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. It felt like a shorter one in comparison to the other ones I've read, and I really found it like an interesting way in which that the mystery was constructed. It was done through anonymous letters, and I just genuinely love like how the settings of these books and how beautifully crafted Agatha Christie makes like the time periods of them. And yeah, I just find them so much fun. And yeah, so I'm making my way through They Do It With Mirrors now. I am only 25 pages through this one, and Miss Marple is present from the very first page. So I think this is going to be very heavy on the Miss Marple and more of her trying to figure out the mystery, rather than it being like the mystery kind of ongoing and her brought in to reveal the conclusion, which is what sort of happened with the last book, in which I'm kind of enjoying this like swap and change between her being the one who kind of just like concludes the novel, and then her being the one who's like figuring out the mystery as it goes, in which is really interesting. And yeah, I genuinely can't say that I disliked any of the Agatha Christie Miss Marple books yet. I found them all interesting for different reasons. I love how unique but yet how familiar each of the mysteries feel, and honestly and genuinely Agatha Christie is one of my favorite authors now by far. So yeah, that was another one down, and then this is the final Miss Marple I own like physically on my shelves, I think. And then I'm going to probably move on to some more Poirot works, because that is what I have left on the shelves. I also have The Secret Chimneys, in which I don't think that has any detectives in. I think that's just like a general mystery. So that will be interesting to read. And yeah, so I'm gonna hopefully enjoy this one. It's already quite an interesting concept. It's like a Miss Marple old friend, and I love the fact that like she is this like innocent woman, but like she travels around and yet she knows like what's going on and people's intentions. And I just love how every single time that the mystery is revealed, I am gobsmacked. I just cannot ever guess right, and that probably is very telling on me. But yeah, I just feel like that's so well done, just so beautifully crafted. And yeah, so I'm going to continue reading this one, and then I'll update you on my thoughts want to make more progress through. Obviously I don't want to give spoilers, because that's the whole point of reading a mystery, is you kind of figure it out as you go along. But yeah, I'm really enjoying my time in the Agatha Christie world, and I'm definitely wanting to read kind of like more from this time period, because I've just realized how cozy it makes me feel, and I just love reading about the people, about the settings, about the environment like of kind of post World War II, like in between middle of World War I and World War II. Yeah, I feel like that's actually a period of history that I'm really enjoying my fiction being set in which is very new for me. So yeah, I will update you when I have more to discuss. finished They Do It With Mirrors last night, and my goodness me, I don't think I will ever cease to be amazed with the plot twists and the reveal at the end with Agatha Christie's writing. I was so shocked when it was revealed who the murderer was. I honestly was so excited to sort of see how undermined Miss Marple always is and how much the police just like inherently trust her. Like there's just like just because she's like an older woman, the police are like, oh, of course she's like no harm. And then she always like kind of like does her reveal and figures it out. And yeah, just how this all kind of played out as well. It just felt like quite authentic, I suppose. And like I say, I feel like it was just so hard to guess who the murderer was because everyone just felt like they could have been a suspect. And I just love that. I think the most about Agatha Christie's writing is you really fall in love with like certain characters, and like Miss Marple kind of like almost makes you fall in love with certain characters, and other characters you're just so suspicious of them, and then at the end you kind of realize like, why was I suspicious of them? Like there was no need to be. And yeah, I don't know, I just really enjoyed this one. It's quite a short one, I feel like, in comparison, but maybe I'm wrong. And it's quite nice to have Miss Marple from page one as well, and kind of like see everything actually happen, because like usually she comes in after the fact, or like she's not introduced it like into like being a side character, I would say, until like maybe a part way through. Like the moving finger, she wasn't introduced until literally like the last like 100 pages, 150 pages. So it was quite nice to see how like the whole way through this one. And yeah, so I think that is the last Miss Marple I own that I've got to read. So I'm quite sad about that. So now I think I'm gonna move on to either Cat Amongst the Pigeons or The Secret Chimney. I haven't decided which. But I'm just so enjoying this readathon so very much, and just Agatha Christie's writing, her style, her characters, how unique everything feels, but like how similar it feels, I suppose, in terms of I can't like comforting. I'm really wanting to kind of like read more from this time period because I just love everything about it. But I would like to read like some non-murder mysteries as well, maybe. So I might kind of like do some research and see where I can start off reading some of those novels. But yeah, I'm just having so much fun during this readathon, and yeah, I'd love to know perhaps if you've read both Miss Marple and Poirot, what your favorite Miss Marple book is and what your favorite Poirot book is. That would be really interesting. I still think like the main Agatha Christie book that will forever blow my mind is And Then There Were None, and I know that it's like immensely popular for a reason. I read the Solve It Yourself edition, which I actually have a whole video on, and I thought that was a lot of fun actually doing it that way, because it felt even more like revelationary or whatever at the end, because it was so much more shocking because you didn't kind of have anyone figuring it out for you. So that was a lot of fun. But anyway, sidetracked. So yeah, I will let you know which one I decide to pick up next, but I'm having a lot of fun diving into the Agatha Christie worlds again, and yeah, just adoring Miss Marple for certain. So I'm here to wrap up the Agatha Christie readathon. I had so much fun doing this. Firstly, I wanted to talk to you about another book that I'm reading, though, that you might like if you've read Agatha Christie and like her works. I'm reading Tea on Sunday by Lettice Cooper, and I am only 73 pages in, but so far I'm finding it so interesting. This is a British Library classic. I think the British Library published this, I believe. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm really enjoying this, and I've had a good few recommendations for these kind of like British Library crime classics, in which I've wanted to get into for quite a while, and finally decided to pick this one up. This one I bought when I was back in London, and I'm finally getting around to reading it, and I am having a lot of fun with it, and it's just filling that Agatha Christie hole that I have in my heart right now, and just loving it for the different way in which our author creates these characters and has set up the mystery. And yeah, we're only really kind of getting introduced into the murder and introduced into the characters and our suspects and the police and the investigators. I think it's not like Agatha Christie in the sense that it's one of the like general crimes where the police are trying to figure out it's a whodunit. But yeah, I just thought that this would be a good mention. Like I say, I can't 100% recommend it at the minute because I haven't finished it, but I'm making my way through it and thought it'd be worth mentioning in case that you wanted to pick it up as well. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to continue reading this one. I'll hopefully eventually let you know my full thoughts when I finished it. But yeah, that is kind of the end of this adventure of reading the Agatha Christie books that I have. I've decided to end it here because I didn't really want to pick up any of the other ones because I just wasn't really feeling what they were about, and I don't want to ever force myself into reading something that I don't want to read. And so I thought it'd be a good time to end it here, and I've had fun while it lasted. I've read a good deal of Agatha Christie now. Obviously, I've only been reading her for a few months now, but I honestly can say for certain she is one of my absolute favourite authors, and I especially like the Miss Marple series. So yes, I've only got, I think, a handful of those left to read now, so I'm very intrigued to see how I will feel once I finish them all. But yes, anyway, rambling aside, thank you so much for joining me on this adventure. I'd love to know what your favourite Agatha Christie book is, if you would like to share. I hope you had fun and as much as I did, so thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you have a wonderful day or night. Until next time, friends. Bye!